Greetings, friends. Thank you for listening to The Hands of History, a production of the Society of Massage Archives, the only nonprofit dedicated to preserving the history of massage and bodywork. Because of people like you, the Society of Massage Archives exists. An archive is more than a collection of old papers and objects. It is a deliberate, organized effort to preserve history, the records, stories, and voices that would otherwise be discarded, damaged, or lost to time. Thanks to our Founders Club, 50 individuals who stepped up to help build the foundation for preserving the history of massage therapy, Soma's work is now underway. That support has made it possible for us to begin safeguarding the stories, documents, and artifacts that have shaped our profession. But preservation isn't a one-time act. It's ongoing work. We're building something lasting. Whether it's digitizing collections, expanding access, or integrating historical knowledge into practice and education, Soma is demonstrating how massage history matters. As a 501c3 nonprofit, we are working towards a dedicated, professionally maintained archive, one that protects our past and makes it accessible for future generations. If you believe that massage therapy's past deserves long-time care, access, and stewardship, we invite you to become a recurring contributor. Whether it's $20 a month or any amount that feels right to you, every gift, big or small, goes a long way in fulfilling our mission. Your monthly contribution helps sustain Soma's operations year-round, so history stays alive and available for everyone in our community. History doesn't preserve itself. People do. Learn more about becoming a recurring supporter today at societyofmassagearchives.org. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast do not necessarily reflect those of the Society of Massage Archives. These views and commentaries represent the recollections of the host and guests, and as such are subject to occasional slight inaccuracies. The content here is for informational and educational purposes only. You should conduct your own historical research when determining the veracity of any statements made within.
Greetings and welcome to the Hands of History podcast, a production of the Society of Massage Archives, where we delve into the rich tapestry of massage therapy's past, explore its evolution, and share the stories that have shaped this vital practice. Today is Monday, January 26, 2026. I am your host, Kirby Clark Ellis, and today I'm joined with Grace Chan. Grace is a true builder of the modern massage profession. She is an osteopathic manual practitioner and one of the co-founders of the Sutherland Chan School of Massage, an institution that has shaped massage education in Canada for decades and influenced how thousands of practitioners were trained, taught, and licensed. Beyond the classroom and clinic, Grace has been a national and international leader, helping establish professional organizations, supporting research and education through the American Massage Therapy Association Foundation, and advocating for massage therapy at a time when the profession was still fighting for recognition. Her career doesn't just reflect the history of massage therapy. In many ways, it helped to write it. Welcome, Grace.
Hello, good morning.
Thank you for being here. So many people have been, just biting at the chops to get you on here for this recording, and I'm excited to learn more about you myself, Grace.
I'm excited to be here. I'm a little nervous because I don't know what I can talk about, so I rely on you to ask questions.
So many people come on here and they're a little cautious, but you're amazed at what can be pulled out of you and how much your story actually can fill the time. So let's just get right into it, Grace. Take me back. Let's start at the beginning. What pulled you into the world of massage therapy in the first place?
It was by chance, or I always call it a calling, because I had no idea what massage therapy was about. I was studying at the University of Toronto. My double major was physiology and psychology. And I often thought that, at least we have the neck to connect the head with the body. So I've been always trying to find that connection. So after I graduated, I took a training program with the Gestalt Institute. And one of my teachers there say, for her to find a connection between the mind and the body, she was taking a massage course. So I said, okay, that's what leads me in terms of understanding the person in terms of body-mind connection. I'll do it. So she said, go to the school. So I went to that school. It's called the 3HO Foundation. It's an evening course. At the time in Toronto or in Ontario, it was 1,000 hours. So evening course. So daytime I can work. I like doing a lot of things. So I was taking courses at York doing media and psychology. I was doing my research at the Clark Institute of Psychiatry, which is on the effects of prolactin on behavior. And then evening I was taking this course in massage. So I had no idea what massage therapy is about. All I knew was about, the whole red light district, all those kind of stuff. But if my prof introduced me to it, it's got to be pretty legit. So I did. At that time it was 1,000 hours, as I said, and practicum was only like 20 patients. It was very minimal. So, but even within that, I was massaging patient coming in, and it was like the patient would get up and say, "Oh, my pain went away," right? So I go like, "Oh, this really worked." And at the same time, I was a little not very happy with the work I was doing at in research because first of all, it's animal research, and I just didn't like that aspects of it. And second of all, I was talking to my boss at the time, and I said, "Look, hormonal research it needs to have a really good foundation so that we know what the baseline is before we go on that." But I was working researching with rats, so particularly with hormonal rat, you got to have a very good baseline. And right that time we have rats either have in the environment is either 12 hours a day, 12 hours a night, or 8 hours a night, 16 hours a day, or by weight or by number of days to consider mature. So like this is always based on a very false foundation. So several things come together. My immediate gratification with massage, being a student, and all this frustration with research. And I have to assay the blood. I have to do a computer. And computer at that time in the 70s is like you have to enter everything. If you made a mistake, you have to go back to the beginning and enter all the. So I go, I have enough of it. So it's kind of somehow, that's why I said it's a calling. It's to kind of move me into that direction of massage. Sorry, long story.
No, that's great. There's a lot that we can pick apart there just a little bit, if you don't mind, Grace. So you started with a double major, which I think is just incredible, in physiology and psychology. Can you talk even earlier than that? What kind of led you down that path in the first place?
I think originally when I went to university, my path was going to be to go to medical school. My father was a doctor, so I was thinking I would like to go into medical school. But I was also very interested in human behavior. So I took the physiology and all the sciences, and I took psychology 101. And it's a very interesting psychology of 101. I thought it was very interesting because the way that they mark you, they don't mark in terms of your exam and stuff like that. So you have to study, then you have to submit what you think your mark is going to be. A, B, C, D, or E. Basically know yourself, right? Before you enter this. So it's not a specific percentage, but actually A, B, C, D, E. If you guess right where the category you're in, you get more points. If you guess wrong, you get kind of minus points with that. A lot of students hated it. I loved it. I loved it. So that system was canceled the year after. But because of that, I think it was my interest in terms of more psychology afterwards. So I took abnormal psychology. I took many behavioral psychology courses have that. So I have this double, like major in physiology, but kind of minor in like a bit more minor in psychology. And then from that, I kind of start thinking about the neck, connecting the head and the body. So that's part of the story before why I'm taking those two disciplines.
Gotcha. So your father was a doctor, so you kind of had that caregiving kind of aspect as a tradition in your family. Would that be accurate
Yeah,
to say there, Grace?
yeah, yeah.
All right, interesting. I'm also curious, you mentioned Gestalt's therapy. I assume that you came across that in your studies at the University of Toronto.
Yeah, in psychology, so there's the existential, there's so there is Gestalt and all this kind of Jung and primal was at that time was the in thing as well, primal scream. So many disciplines, and I find that really interesting in terms of the existential. So they have a 2 year, I think it was maybe a 1 year for professionals. So I thought I would just take that as a tryout to see if this is something I want to do. So that's how I met this teacher of mine at that institute.
Very
Yeah.
interesting. A
Yeah.
couple of our previous guests have mentioned Gestalt's therapy as well. And I'm just wondering, could you briefly give us like a description of, or like intro 101 to Gestalt's for those who might not be familiar?
Okay, it's such a long time ago because I just basically did that and I don't remember much of it. Basically, it's what's relevant to you at this moment, and just be focused on the moment instead of the past and the future and whatever is. And one of the examples I often use is like, you're sitting here and it's very cold, right? And you'll be sitting here and going like, "Oh, it's very cold, and and why is not this?" And then instead of staying in that moment, it's like, okay, let's close the window, turn on the heat so that you get to the place that is comfortable for you. And so kind of basically deal with what's happening right now and not blaming, not thinking, not, it's like, why didn't so-and-so close the window before? And the heat is, da, da, da. So that's one of the example of what Gestalt is. There's some exercises for you kind of get into that space. And some of the techniques is hot seat is basically you put on a seat and the therapist will ask you a question and get you in touch with what caused you that certain anxiety or certain problem you have or certain issues you have with challenges you have with life or with family and stuff like that.
It sounds like there's an element of at least body awareness. Was there much of an element of like actual hands-on body work or manual exercises at it?
No,
Okay.
no, not a whole lot. There's some exercises, a little bit of physical exercises, in terms of breathing exercises and working with the pelvis and different things, but not hands-on. Like what's the other therapy that I was in? I forgot what it was now. There's a bit more hands-on, but not Gestalt doesn't have that much hands-on. Usually more didactic.
Gotcha. But it was a professor that turned you on to the route of massage therapy.
Yes.
Is there anything that you can point to or remember back to, Grace, that, it sounds like maybe you had a little bit of hesitancy. You didn't really know what to expect with the idea of massage therapy. Is there anything
Yeah.
that really helped concrete, that pushed you more so down that direction?
I think I trusted her that she said, in terms of the body-mind connection. And I'm the kind of personality always like to try something out. I like to try it, particularly when I don't know what it's all about. I like to kind of go in and explore. And I think that may be part of it that I gone into it. Actually, it creates quite a bit of a disturbance within me and my parents because they go like, massage, what are you doing? Because at that time, as I said, more prevalent is the massage parlor and all that kind of stuff. So they were kind enough not to bug me about it for a long, long time. They knew that's what I'm doing. They just kind of didn't ask more questions and so on till much later. And I wouldn't know what to tell them either because I just kind of stepped right into it. So I thank them for not bugging me and kind of keep saying, don't do it.
Yeah, I can definitely get that. Even when I went to massage therapy school, my family didn't exactly understand exactly what I would be doing either. Yeah, they kind of have those connotations to sex work still to this day. So I really like what you said, the neck to connect, the head or the mind to the body. Did you find that massage therapy met that expectation, that it, provided a way to connect the mind and the body together?
Not during massage school, but because I was connected with the Gestalt community. So I was invited to go to have weekends. They have training sessions, like they have 5 days in a row, or usually they have that towards the end of the training session. So 5 days intensive together and work things out and then learnings and so on. So I was invited to be the massage therapist
Ah.
as well with the community. That's how I built my practice when I first graduated, is from that community. They really know the benefit of massage in terms of relaxation and all that. So I have a lot of clients from that community, and through that, I was able to explore or find the connection, not necessarily through the neck. So, because they're so in touch with themselves and their feelings and so on and so forth. So a lot of times when I work on them, certain things would surface for them. I was not in a position to discuss with it, but they would able to say, hey, I'm feeling this and da 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 da. So that's why I found the connection with the mind and the body is anything that's not expressed is stored in the body. At that time I have a lot of pain around the diaphragm and so on and so forth. And actually, when I was in a course, I remember instructor was trying to show me abdominal massage. And I said, okay, I'll volunteer. And anyways, so he tried to put his hand on my abdomen. I was laughing so hard. So it's probably a protective mechanism, right? I was laughing so hard that he cannot approach my abdomen at all. And he keeps saying, okay, stop it. Enough already, right? I can't. So I store a lot of tension in that area, So those are the things that not research wise, but proves to me that certain emotion not released is stored in your body. It's like people's shoulders, people's back. So I kind of found that, but I wasn't in that for very long. I think to get it longer, in terms of truly deeply understand it, I probably continue with the Gestalt training and work, with the person that way. But I moved on to sports massage after that.
If we can, Grace, can we explore a little bit more about the massage school, 3HO Foundation? That was there in Toronto as well, correct?
Yes, yes, in Toronto. So that was supposed to be the best school at the time. There were a couple other schools, like two other schools, yeah, and that was supposed to be the best. And it's 3H is Happy, Holy, Healthy, so run by the Sikh community, in yeah, yeah, the Golden Temple, that whole community. So since my teacher went to it, I kind of thought that probably it's a school. And I didn't know of the other school. As I said, she said, do it. And I just kind of did it. And then after I got into it, before I realized there's other schools. And the school is interesting in the sense that in the beginning of some classes, they would teach us Kundalini yoga. So we'd do some yoga, a half an hour yoga before we get into learning about anatomy, physiology, and massage techniques and all that.
I am so fascinated. First of all, this is the first time I've come across an introduction to Sikhism related to massage therapy training. Was that your first introduction to Sikhs?
Yeah. Oh, actually, no. In Hong Kong, I grew up in Hong Kong. I was there until I came over here for high school. I came to Canada for high school, grade 12 and 13. We had grade 13 at the time. We don't have that grade 13 anymore. So in Hong Kong, we have a lot of Sikh Indians in the community. So I knew them. We kind of lived together, cohabit in Hong Kong. I don't have do I have any? My classmates, we have few, but I don't think they are Sikh. But I just know that they're Indian because, a lot of the male will wear turban, but I went to an all-girl high school, so I don't know if they were Sikh or not. But we have at least 10% of the class, or more than that actually, because we have a huge class of 40. So we have at least 6, 7 classmates that are from South Asia.
Gotcha. My real introduction or the connection that I make to Sikhs and any sort of body work is Ayurveda. I don't want to rely too heavily on you if you're not, super familiar with, but is that a fair connect the dots that I'm making there between those two, Grace, or do you know?
I don't know Ayurveda that much, so I hadn't gone to explore that. But I think they saw the need of having a massage school. And at that time, they were a growing community. They have the health food store. They have a whole ashram on the street. They have several houses there. And I think that one of the things they thought would be good to do was to open a massage school. So Ayurvedic wasn't in the picture at that time yet.
Gotcha. Could you talk to me a little bit about what that training was like? Did you find it to be a really exemplary if it was supposed to be one of the best? Did you find it so? And talk a little bit about the instructors if you can, Grace.
Okay, most of the instructors were from the ashram because they all took this training somewhere. I'm not too sure where. And then it was almost in most of it, particularly the theory part of it was from the ashram. And then the practical part, they hired somebody who taught at another school, and her name was Christine Sutherland, hence Sutherland Chan. So she was my practical teacher. She teaches massage techniques, conditions, and all that. So at that time, it was really simple. We were taught 10 conditions. Like, it's really strange to talk about it right now. Flat feet, lumbago, some respiratory thing. So we learned 10 conditions, and we only have 20 sessions where we work on the public, but we were taught anatomy, physiology, pathology. At that time, there in Ontario, there was called the Board of Director of Masseuse. So after we finish our training, we have to take that exam to get our, I forgot what, we weren't RT at that point. So we just got the certificate from the government to practice because that is the government exam. So that was the very beginning ages, I think, of not totally beginning. I'm sure they existed before. That's why there's a board director of masseuse. But that was what it was at that time, 1,000 hours. And the training was really minimal compared to what we have right now. Yeah. And that's what kind of stimulated me and Christine to think about there's more to it than what we were taught at that time.
Can you remember any specific, because this is 1975, 76 for you, right? Specific textbooks that were used in the program?
No, not really. And I know Christine got a lot of her information from Tidy's massage and hydrotherapy. She just kind of collected whatever she had to teach us. It was very basic. I think I'm just even thinking about anatomy books. Yeah, I can remember. Um, we were just lectures and so on. So I think it's just from teacher's notes at that point.
I want to ask you also, I don't want to stray too far from this introduction to Christine because I find that pretty interesting. And I'm sure that it also leads into the next chapter of your career. But are there any other specific quirks, memories, or surprises from your entry level training?
It was really interesting because even though we didn't have a huge practical area in our training, I got to see some very interesting cases that kind of helped me to think this is amazing what I'm facing because I remember one person came in when I was a student and she was a potter. She does pottery all the time and she's singing all the time and she has some leg problem or something like that. I don't remember what it was. And I remember walking on her legs, I go like, holy moly, this the tissue I felt is it's almost like dead tissue for lack of a better word. Like there's no energy, there's no circulation, there's no nothing. So kind of started me to think about, okay, what can I do to help, improve the circulation because she's sitting so much like that, so the circulation get cut off at the hip area and is not, she's not walking. So I learned that, or I learned, I remember working on somebody and he got up and he goes like, oh, this is great. The pain in my right arm went away, but my left arm, I still have the pain because I ran out of time. I can only work on her one arm and I didn't have time to do the other. And I learned all these is like, and it is really adds to the basic theory that we should know in terms of what massage is about and add to for our teaching in terms of like what do you watch for, what do you the palpation of the tissue, how do you do that. And so there's a lot of learning, as I said, even though it's not a whole lot of patients come in, but every one I learned something from, which I really appreciate. Yeah.
Is the 3H O Foundation, are they still in operation?
No, no, not anymore. After we started our school, maybe a year or two, a year and a bit after we started school, they closed down. And it was a huge before. As I said, we have several houses. It was, the ashram there to really teach people to practice in terms of meditation and yoga and diet and so on. And somehow during those years, it's dwindled. So they stopped operating the school. There's not a health food store anymore. The health food store still carry on for quite a few years after, but I don't see them around anymore. And I still see maybe a few, two or three of the people I used to know, sometimes bump into on the street and so on and so forth, but it's definitely gone very, very small compared to in the 1970s.
And then I want to take just one more detour, if we can, Grace. In your answer about the story you shared about the potter, you described the legs feeling, the tissue feeling dead or a lack of energy. In reviewing your CV, I also noticed that almost immediately after your time with 3HO was ended, you attended shiatsu classes at Kikawa College. Can you?
Yeah. Well, Mitsuki Kikawa and Shirley were my classmates when I was in massage school. And they said they were starting a shiatsu school after we graduated. So would I be interested to attend? Of course, again, not knowing what it is, fit right into my alley. It's like, sure, I'll attend. So I was their first class. I'm first class in a lot of things. I'm the first class when they started the shiatsu school. Also an evening program, so I can still work in the daytime and attend there. At that time, they have a 1 year training program. So that's how I got introduced into shiatsu. And I learned, they gave a lot of very deep understanding. I teach a lot of the Eastern medicine philosophy, the meridians and all that, very in detail. And I really had the notes. And unfortunately, I lent it to someone, and I don't remember who I loaned it to, and I don't get it back. It was an incredible booklet they put together, And I sometimes, when I was doing massage, I sometimes would switch to, okay, this is not working. Okay, let's try some meridians and see how it's going to help. And then knowing the meridians actually helped me to understand the person in another aspect. It's like, okay, I'm working this, and then all of a sudden I switch to working the kidney meridian, and then I can kind of follow the kidney meridian, and then kind of at that time I didn't know anything about visceral work at all, but I follow it, and I said, okay, here's a kidney. Here's you either feel it whether it's jitsu or kyo, meaning like jitsu is too much energy, kyo is lack of energy. So I feel that, and I can sometimes tell and say, then it's switching like a stop. It's like, okay, is this physical or is it emotional? Is this da, da, da? So I pull all these things together in my treatment when I treat it.
I like that.
In the Eastern medicine, they do talk about, the both the physical aspect and the psychological aspect, right? Liver means, fire means da, 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 kidneys mean. So some of those, so I, at that time, because they're still very fresh in my mind, so I switch back and forth with all these disciplines. I enjoy that.
Sure. Was there much of an Eastern introduction to these Eastern traditions in your 3HO Foundation, or was the shiatsu really like your first foray into that aspect?
It's basically shiatsu, but my grandfather was a TCM practitioner.
Really?
So yeah, and I often regretted I hadn't learned anything from him, particularly in the post diagnosis. So I have a bit of that. He was brilliant when I grew up in terms of assessing me, talking to me about me. He'll look at me and say, "You got a flu coming. Take this herbal tea." Da 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 da. Because they look at the face and look at the tongue, right? And so I often, if I had the time, I would love to go into to TCM. I'm not so much into the herbs and all that, but I love I guess with the physical aspect, I love to know how to diagnose with a post, something like he was really well known in Hong Kong practicing. He was kind of taken to Asia a lot. At that time, there was not flying, so they took a boat to Singapore or to Malaysia to treat people. He was able to diagnose somebody who couldn't get pregnant. Saw all the specialists in Hong Kong. And with his diagnosis post, he was able to say, okay, this is what it is. And 3 herbal teas later, she was pregnant, right? So I love to have that, but I don't. She's not around to teach me.
Oh, yeah. Let me ask you, Grace, did your grandfather ever immigrate to Canada himself, or was it just your family?
No, just me. My I immigrated here first. No, I shouldn't say that. Grandparents on my mother's side immigrated here first, and then my uncle wanted me to come here. The grandfather I talked about is my grandfather on my father's side, my paternal grandfather.
Gotcha. Do you mind, could we talk just a little bit about that, Grace, being a second generation immigrant to Canada? Did that ever show up or affect your education or your training in massage therapy in any way?
No, I don't think so. I didn't feel that at all, or anything. Yeah, all the way university, my training with massage, I didn't feel any. I feel that I'm just kind of doing things like everybody else is doing.
Gotcha. Let me ask you also, if this is all right, Grace. I think you're also my first Asian guest that we've had here on the podcast. And I'm wondering if there are I can't point to any, and I don't know if that's a failing on me or a failing on the profession, other exemplaries in massage therapy or in body work of Asian descent. Are there any that you kind of look up to or any specific personal heroes to you, either outside of massage therapy?
Outside of massage therapy,
Sure, that's fine.
Asian. Oh, I I can think of any. I think I don't like other than my grandfather that I thought I would love to learn from him. I uh I have an aunt, but she's not Asian, so that's different. That I kind of look up to because when I come to Canada, I think my decision when I started, to work or to go to school is like, this is my new home. I want to be part of this. So actually, I'm not that. How do I say? I'm not that. I'm not like I don't have a community of Chinese friends or something like that. That like I just go to school and these are all my friends, and so I my first university, I think maybe for some reason, because in residence, they did match me with somebody from Hong Kong as well. Maybe just kind of want me to be familiar with it. But after that, I don't particularly kind of associate one group or the other or anything like that. I just kind of university life, I just kind of enjoy it. And I'm in dorm, I be with friends with everybody there. I just want to be integrated as part of the whole community. So I don't have anybody particularly that I can if I think of anybody, I'll let you know, but I think of anybody right now.
Gotcha. Thanks for taking that quick little detour with me, Grace.
Yeah,
Um,
that's okay. And that's just one I think everybody I come across, I enjoy being with them. And I think, everybody has a bit of influence or I feel I have something I learn from them. And that's what I enjoy most is being with people is like this exchange and so on.
Beautiful. Let's not beat around the bush anymore. Talk to me about that introduction to Christine Sutherland. She was your an instructor at 3HO.
She was struggling at TH3HO. And then after I graduated, one of my classmates is an architect. He's an architect and he takes massage course as well for interest, right? And he was living in this apartment down on this street called Spadina. And we're looking for a place to practice. And at that time, there's not really clinics or anything like that. You just have, you just kind of find a room and practice. So he was willing to let us have a couple of rooms to work in. So Christine took one room, I took one room. He was still living there a bit at that time, but partly, I think, mostly living with his girlfriend too. So we were practicing. I remember I had this patient come in, and I don't remember what it is now. So I knock on the door and say, Christine, I don't know what to do with this person. And then as she comes, she said, okay, do blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, thank you. So I go back to my room and do it, right? So I said to her, I said, look, whatever I learn is not enough. I really want to have a school that no matter whoever knocks on my door, be it 3 weeks old to 100-year-old, I would know how to work with them. So let's start a school. Let's put a curriculum together that our students be able to do that. Because, I don't want people to knock on somebody else's door. It's like, what do you do? They can't knock on my door because they may be working somewhere else, right? So that's, I think, is the start of me thinking there's got to be more. And I know there's more because during the student, I know the effects and the benefits people coming in that they got.
All right. So it kind of sounds like out of the training with 3HO, you started a practice kind of space sharing with Christine and this other practitioner. Was that accurate?
Yeah.
Did that kind of build kind of more of this good working relationship between you and Christine?
Yeah.
Well, talk to me about that, I guess, then, if that's the next step for you and Christine. I imagine that would kind of be a daunting kind of task to found and start a school.
Yeah, well, it was really interesting. I mean, it wasn't daunting at the time when we do. We just kind of have this passion and we want to do it. So we met almost every day between clients. So and some days when we don't have clients, we'll go kind of from breakfast to lunch to dinner. We kind of move, from one restaurant to the next restaurant to the next restaurant. And it was really interesting because there's another person in my class. She was a bookkeeper. It's interesting. In my class, I had very interesting classmates in my class at 3HO. Anyways, when we just about finished, she heard about it and she came and talked to us and she said, this is so interesting. It took 9 months to design this whole program.
Mhm.
And she said that's exactly how 9 months is when a baby was born. So she kind of put that analogy. So in the process, we look at we need at least 300 hours of anatomy, 300 hours of pathology, 300 hours of physiology. I don't know why three, but that seems to be the number we want to pick. And 300 hours of practice. It's like so 300 hours of clinic. I don't know what other 300 hours we have, but anyways, we picked three to be our number. And one of the things that Christine came up with was outreach clinic, is bringing students outside of the curriculum into the community and work with the community. And then when we come together, put it all together, we designed a 2,200 hours program. We had it together. We went to the board of directors of Masseuse and say, this is what we want to have. And he kind of go like, no, we don't want to have another school because they already had three schools already. But because it's privately owned, he can't stop it, right? So he kind of talked with the group and agreed for our program to start practice. But we have to go through the government before we can have the 2,000 hours. So I remember several years later when they approved the 1,500-hour program, and then like almost 10 years to the date after we submitted our program to them, before they kind of agreed to the 2,000-hour program, 1986 at least, something like that, when they agreed to the 2,000-hour program. But we really enjoyed the process. And that time it was hard to find teachers. So we found one of the teachers we had in the ashram. Christine Sutherland was one of the major teachers. I taught very little bit because I still don't think that I know enough to teach. So I taught very little, and that was how the school was born. And actually, by the time Gerald, who's the architect, who lived in that apartment, decided to move out. So we took that one floor, took out all the rooms, and made it into a classroom. So our very first class is this one room on Spadina on the second floor. It's called 402 Spadina. And it was like this second, we have the second year, the first year we have 12 students. And Christine actually was really the person for it because she basically pulled all her friends to come into the school. 12 or 14 students, 20 students. But the second year, it dropped to about 5. So we kind of still thought, let's go for it. And then from the 5, we went to 25. And that's when the room we have doesn't work anymore. And that's when 3HO moved out of their space and we moved into the 3HO space at 742 Spadina Avenue.
Okay, interesting. I'm liking all of this backstory that you're giving and sharing with me, Grace. First of all, it sounds like I want to ask, surely your program that you and Christine came up with, it surely had to have kind of stick out as a sore thumb, like you're over double what the minimum requirements are. Did you find that
Yeah,
hard to get people to, get students to commit to that length of a program?
not at all. It's really interesting because I think as we get, more hours, the government require those hours. So we start with 1,000, and then when they approved to 15, we moved to 15. When they agreed to 2,000, we moved to 2,000. So we didn't go before the government agreed. So the government like required that number of hours, so we don't have problem. Actually, the school, as I said, grew so much that we were by 1989 we had so many students that we had to find another space to move to. So we keep moving up the street from Spadina. And then we finally found a space. It was somebody owned that space, but there was a car dealership. They have 3 floors, and they're willing to build one more floor for us so that we take third and fourth floor to be our school and build it to what we want to be. So we were there from 1990 till 2020.
Wow.
So we're there 30 years. Yeah.
Holy cow. Yeah. I also love this that you share moving into the 3HO building. Did that kind of feel like to me, that sounds like a homecoming. Did it kind of feel that way to the two of you?
Yeah. 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 We never thought that would happen because we're doing well. They're there. And then all of a sudden they come approach and say, look, we decided to stop. Would you be happy to take the space? And we're happy because we really need the space at that time.
Worked out great. Let me see if I've got this timeline straight in my head, Grace. Would it be fair to say that from 1980 essentially to 1990, it was really focused on building the Sutherland Chan School up, and then by the 90s, you moved into a space, 2 floors, the third and fourth floor, where you were able to stay for like 30 years. And then I noticed that it kind of in the 90s is where you kind of take your training in osteopathy. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. 92, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah. It was around 1992 I started osteopathy.
gotcha. Did it feel like the school was that steady enough of a pace, it was continuing to grow, it was doing pretty well, is what led you to osteopathy? Or what kind of happened that was the intro to osteopathy, if you want to start to head down that road with me?
Same thing, it's like I had no idea what osteopathy was. No idea at all. Because at that time, actually, in 1983, maybe backtrack a little bit. So I started the school and I worry that my students don't have a place to work. So I started clinics. So first clinic is at the school. So benefit the teachers as well, so they practice there and teach. They don't have to travel across the city. And then I go two things. One, I go like, massage is still kind of hidden. People go to massage therapists when somebody tells somebody. There's nobody come and say I'm a massage therapist at that time. This is in the 80s. And I thought, you know what? I want to bring massage to the people, to where there's a lot of people. So in Toronto, there's a downtown core, all these towers with people working there. So I said, I'm going to have a clinic in one of these towers because I want people to know what massage is about, and they don't have to go very far. They can just, in the middle of the day, they have a headache, they can come down for a massage. So it's a little bit naive, but I kind of thought but thinking wise is really the best thing to do. There were about 4 or 5 downtown core buildings, and then they all lead to this path and go down to the subway. So the core one is in the middle, like in the middle of the path. And I went to talk to them and I said, sorry, this is sidetrack. So I worry about my students not having work. So it's always the clinics. So I went to talk to them and they go like, massage. I don't want you to be here. So I went to the next building down and same thing. There's our bank towers, right? And they go like, I don't know. Then I went to the next one, which is closest to the subway. And it was different. They go like, this is great. We want you to be here. Da, 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 da. So we started a clinic at the Royal Bank Plaza, which is the subway. And then people just kind of walk all the way past us to the work, all the way past us to go home, right? So it was really prominent. They see who we are. And that's what I started the second clinic. The first one was at the school second. So, and that's how I started the clinics, is because I worry about my students. So I do things like I don't have a plan. There's what it is. I kind of do it. And I said, okay, there's a need, and I go to the next one. So that's how I plan. I started the clinics, and then from one, I started another one. They're all downtowns at that time, because I kind of figure I have a 5-6 room clinic. There are 50,000 workers up there. If 1% of them come down, I'm okay, right? But it was really interesting because it's an educational process as well, which is something I knew. We have video that shows, what massage is and stuff like that, right? And it was really interesting. The first several years, we have people come in and we don't have any money, so I was receptionist at the same time. They come and say, "Do you do it topless?" And I go, "No, we don't. We, professional, blah 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 blah, right?" Or we have phone calls. They'll say, "Do you do full body massage?" Right? And listening to the tone of voice, and we'll say, "We do, but we need a doctor's referral." And we would drape you in a sheet, and then we expose the area, and then the phone go click, right? So it's quite an educational process for the first few years in the 80s. But it was good because I find that we pay for it, but we educated the public in terms of what massage is about, what professional massage is about.
Yeah.
So that's the clinic side, and then I worry about my students. So that kept me busy for a while. So I always look for something to do. So osteopathy, coming back to your question, was, I think the at that time it was the high time of really massage was, and I was quite involved with the AMTA. Anyways, whatever happened, there's a lot that happened there with AMTA. And then one day, because it was my clinic, and it's really a clinic because I have multidisciplinary clinic at the time. I have massage, I rent space to physio. One of the physio come out and say, "Grace, you got to take this course." I go, "What is it?" And she goes, "Osteopathy." I said, "I've never heard of it. I don't know what it is." And she goes, "You got to take it. It's really good. You got to take it." And I go, "But I really don't know what it is." And it's 7 years. It's 5 years and part-time plus 2 years to do my thesis. I go, "It's a long time. I don't know if I want to commit that kind of time." And she goes, "You know what? Take it. You can always quit if you don't like it." That's how I got into it, just like massage, right? So I got into it and I took the first year, and there's no looking back. I really enjoy what I learned from there.
Yeah, because you're still a practitioner of osteopathy even to this day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Must have really loved it. I don't want to get too far away because I want to come back to talking about the AMTA and professional organizations and some volunteer work even. But to talk a little bit about osteopathy and your training there in the 90s, kind of give us, maybe those of us who aren't familiar with osteopathy, kind of like I asked about Gestalt therapy, kind of give us like an introduction.
Yeah, I think that's a little bit harder to describe because I what I usually tell people is it's another level of working with people, another deeper level in terms of massage. So we work on we assess all the musculoskeletal, we do work on the joints and the spine. So we assess the whole vertebrae in terms of each level, what's wrong with it, so we can either treat it with functional techniques, which is soft techniques, or not adjustment as chiropractor would be. It's a very soft kind of work to kind of move the joints back together. But on top of that, we work on basically osteum basically mean any living tissue. So we're basically working on any living tissue. In my training, I really learned so much in terms of what I can do. So we learn cranial work, we learn visceral work. We work, every time I turn around, we learn something new in terms of, how the body is put together. And even when I teach, I really appreciate how we evolved to be who we are today. It's incredible. I kind of often said, whoever made us is thought of everything. And we have to know really. And it's like how it's connected, how the anatomy really guides me in terms of how I do my treatments. And like we also go into working with the blood vessels. We learn so the palpation aspect is really, really important. So we were going and working with the arteries and all the veins that when we find that it's, so for example, how I learn it is not just say, okay, they taught us this is what it is I was working with my partner who used to play a lot of hockey. He often have cold legs and stuff like that. And we were taught about palpating the arteries and the veins. So I went into the femoral arteries and I was working with it. And then little and behold, afterwards, I can feel the warmth coming down, and he can feel the warmth coming down through his leg. So we work on all kinds of tissues. So up to this day, I would do some work and I go like, amazing, this really works, because it really, and a lot of times it's the position of certain things as well. Sometimes, as William Gardner Sutherland said, 1,000th of a millimeter out of position makes a difference. So sometimes it's just a little bit torsion of the pericardium or whatever it is, and what we need to do is to work on it, let it release, and then it will happen. Because sometimes an injury happens is the body's stuck with that injury. Even though they may walk well and everything, there's still an injury. And the body live with that. But they always, always, always look for normality. So what we do is we go and help them to go back to the normality, help them find the fulcrum. So we don't force anything. We actually wait until it happens, where the body recognizes it to happen. So we always say that it's an internal physician there. So that is what guides the treatment rather than we assess what it is and we're just there to help it and then move back to normal. I hope I explained it clearly.
Yeah, of course. And for me, the first thing that I think of whenever that I hear osteopathy, I go to craniosacral work. Is that a connection there, Grace? Could you talk a little bit
Yeah.
more?
Yeah. So what my school teach is incredible. I don't know other school teaches that is the integration of the whole body. For example, I just don't do cranial. The whole treatment includes everything. So for example, somebody with a hip pain, I come in, assess the hip, and I work on it. And then I would always bring in the hip in terms of what else is there. Assess the vertebrae, assess the pelvis, and all that. But pelvis has the sacrum, right? Sacrum is connected to the occiput. So in my assessment, I look at it globally. Is that hip pain actually from the sacrum, from the ilium, or is it something that happened at the occipital level? Right. So it could be because they hit the head, and then because of the torsion of the occiput, it affects the whole spine, and all of a sudden, they have this hip pain. So we have to find the origin of it. So we always integrate everything. So hip hip pain. So is it the ilium? But even if we treat the ilium, we always treat the temporal bone as well because that's related to the ilium. So always cranial is related back to the physical body, related to the viscera. So it's like, okay, then we look at all the fascia in the pelvis. How is it going to affect the urinary system? How is it going to affect the reproductive system? So we always treat as a whole. So we don't just kind of treat the one part. Maybe that's a better explanation of what osteopathy is.
I love it. Holistic, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Let me ask you, so you've been in private practice of osteopathy since 1998.
yeah.
That's a long time to be practicing in osteopathy. Any particular stories from that work that really sticks out to you, Grace, that you could share?
Quite a few. Like people come in with things, and I don't know why. I think I would treat a couple of people with something, and then word spread. Uh, and I have populations of different a different population coming in. So, for example, I would treat one drummer because of whatever conditions they have, and before I knew it, my whole practice is drummers. Um, and then and then at one point, I was really interested in working with women's issues like incontinence. So I have one person come in and say, she has difficulty, like she's always have this urge to go and blah, blah, blah. I treated her. And before I knew it, my whole practice is of people with, the doctors didn't quite know it's not really cystitis, but they have that urge. So, because knowing the pelvis is easy to treat, they kind of call it interstitial cystitis. They don't really know what caused it, but they often feel that to the point that I actually have a doctor call me and say, I'm a urologist. I said, okay, that's great. I thought he was gonna I said, can you treat my wife? I said, sure. So we treat a lot of stuff that's not necessarily just musculoskeletal, but musculoskeletal has a part into it. We don't just treat the bladder or whatever. It's all the fascias connected to the bladder, how the sacrum sits, how the ilium sits. So we work the whole thing together. I would have somebody for some strange reason. I don't know why she came, but she had car accidents. Like she didn't think that was related. All of a sudden, she had heart palpitation, for example. And through talking about it, she had a car accident like 6, 7 years ago. And so a friend told her to come and see me. What I found was this: the pericardium was just tilted a little bit, and that's all we need to do is to shift it back, and then that stopped, right? So I think what we have to be cautious is like we don't treat pathology. We want to make sure that there's no pathology, but nobody really knows what it is, and they come and give us a try and see if we can help them out. You know, yeah. But when something becomes a pathology, there's nothing we can do.
It seems like for about a decade and a half now, you've been more focused in your private practice as an osteopathist than massage therapy. Is that correct, Grace?
Yeah, I because after I graduate, I have a full practice with osteopathy, and I still am RMT because I'm still registered. I just am inactive with them at this point. So I'm doing more. I would say sometimes even in my osteopathic treatment, I bring in a bit of my massage into it as well. It's just like I bring in a bit of my shiatsu in there as well. So it's a combination that I work with, but most of my assessment and everything is very osteopathic based.
Do you find that they are compatible practices, massage therapy and osteopathy? Could you do like some brief compare contrasts between the two approaches?
Actually, there's some osteopathic techniques that can be, and I teach some of those into massage as well because some of them are soft tissue techniques. So they're pretty compatible in the sense that yes, we do still work on the muscles and so on, but osteopathy don't teach in terms of how you do, when you find, tension, what do you do with it? You usually just look at the fascia and work on that. So I do bring it. So it does work together. And I remember at one point I did a lot more massages in my practice than osteopathic techniques. I think it's just kind of for us to palpate and feel what's needed, and we just bring it into to work. with the patient, whatever benefits them most.
Okay.
I think they're all very compatible. It's all working with the body,
Cool.
The Society of Massage Archives invites you to join us for a virtual book club and discussion circle, a monthly 90-minute virtual deep dive into Dr. Patricia Benjamin's book, The Emergence of the Massage Therapy Profession in North America, A History in Archetypes. This isn't your typical book club. It's a conversation where we'll read the emergence chapter by chapter, reflect on the stories, struggles, and triumphs that shaped our profession, and explore how the past informs our current and future circumstances. Discussion circles are moderated by SOMA's Executive Board of Directors, with special guest hosts and Q&A sessions with the author, Dr. Benjamin. Registrants will receive access to the ebook format courtesy of Sutherland Chan School of Massage in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Virtual meetings will be held on the second Monday of each month at 6:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Central, 4:30 p.m. Mountain, and 3:30 p.m. Pacific. Visit our social media on Facebook and Instagram, or our website at societyofmassagearchives.org to learn more and get registered today. We'll see you soon.
All right, talk to me about how you got started with the professional organizations. Is AMTA really like your first introduction to that?
Yeah, I didn't get quite involved with the OMTA and all that. I didn't. What happened was when we're at the school, we have an administrator at that time, and her name was Rhonda Birnbaum. And she was looking, she said, I just come across this association. I think it's beneficial that you guys, Christine and I, be a member. So we went down for our first conference, and which is really interesting because I find that actually at that conference, I met a lot of people that I'm still in touch with. Ben Benjamin, Sally Neiman, Nancy Dale, these are all people that I met and actually it was Sally and Ben's first conference as well. So I went there just to observe, and then I think we were their first Canadian. No, there were other Canadians there as well. So they kind of after that they asked me to be their Canadian representative onto the board. And yes, it's my first introduction in terms of this big of an organization.
So was that first conference, would that have been the 86 conference? Does that sound right?
It probably is 83, I think. I don't know. 86 is when they come to Toronto, is it? Or is it 89 they came to Toronto? Let me check.
Sure.
So must be 86, yeah. So 86, yes, we went down and joined, and then 87 become Canadian representative. Yeah. And that was just when Bob King became president.
Was that a completely new position for the AMTA to have a Canadian representative? Or was there someone in that role before you, Grace?
I think there was somebody in that role. They had that position, but they may not have somebody in that role for a while. Some of them in BC, I think, used to be on that, and then he wasn't anymore. But I think they had that role. Just there wasn't any Canadian member until we joined in 86. So I became the Canadian rep.
Gotcha. I'm wondering if you can talk any more about that first conference that you attended with the AMTA. It sounds like you made, lifelong friends and colleagues that you met. Is there anything else that sticks out to you? Any memory from that first AMTA conference you attended?
Yeah, it's just all new to us because they have evening talks as well. And then they have, lunches, it was held at the Catskills. So I met with Christine, kind of go, that's Ben Benjamin. We should have lunch with him. So we sat down and have lunch with Ben and then become long time friends. Actually, I just talked to Ben a couple of evenings ago, and then Sally was also representing her school first time to the conference. So I just got to chat to different people. I think become long-term friends is when I was more involved with the board. When I was, after I become the Canadian rep, I have to be there for board meetings and all that, and get involved with doing more things in different committees. But I was just mainly there for the Canadian board. Got more involved with, and then I think Bob King was the president, and then Elliot Green was the president. And I got to, because they have the council school, and that's right. This council school, I got to know a lot of the other school owners, like Nancy Dale and a lot of other schools were there, and meeting these people, talking about the program, and so on and so forth. And then Asan, one day, this talk, they want to have the foundation. They want to have research and outreach and all that. So Elliot called me and say, Grace, I would like you to be the president of the foundation. And I go like, I'm Canadian. And he goes, it doesn't matter. Just do it. He says, come and do it. I said, okay, that's me again, right? It's not knowing what I get myself into. So I agreed to it. But it was a good learning experience because what do I know about, research proposals and all that? But I enjoy that part of it because then I got to research different universities, how they, what are the criterias, what are the policies, and da 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 da, and come up with that whole research part of it. And the interesting part was the fundraising part. So any opportunity, I go up and talk to because usually at conferences, right? And then I go, it's like, it's a foundation, we wanted that. And I finished my speech, I walked down the aisle, and everybody's giving me money, right? And it's like, wow, this is amazing. Like the support we had, from the membership was incredible.
Mhm.
So I really enjoy that, working on that in that realm.
Awesome. It sounds like they were really ready to get that off of the ground. They wanted to invest in it and see it really take off.
Yes.
I'm just going to try and string the timeline just a little bit more together. So it sounds like, well, immediately after, and if you can talk about this a little bit, Grace, immediately after your term as AMTA's Canadian District Representative ended, you started the Canadian Massage Therapy Alliance, the CMTA.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anything you can share about that?
Again, when I see a need, I want to do it because, which the different provinces, they are doing different things and everybody's doing something that's really good. But I thought it'd be nice to have that alliance so that they can sit down at the table and talk and do something as a whole, for the country. When AMT had the conference here in Toronto that year, 1989, that's when we kind of help us initiate the Canadian Massage Therapy Alliance. It was great. I don't have anything involved after that. I just want to start it and get it going, because before that I started the Canadian Sports Massage Association.
Hmm.
And I learned from that because I was in sports massage quite a bit in 1983. After working with people with the psycho-emotional aspects, I got into sports massage and taking teams to all the national competitions, stuff like that, and traveling with teams to Commonwealth Games and championships and all that. I learned that for us massage to be at the table, we have to have a certain knowledge at the table. Is like if we want a massage therapist to be in the Olympics, at that time I know what they're looking for. So not just somebody just graduated from school. They need to have a certain aspects. It's like and they were very clear. It's like if I put you on a ski hill, right? Massage therapist on a ski hill, something happened. Do you know? Can you be the first responder as well? Can you be da? So I know that. So I said, okay, I want to start a sports massage association that there are different levels. So by the time you're level 4 or 3, I don't remember now, that you can go and travel with the Olympic team, and then the medical doctor trusts you to be there if anything happens, not just doing massages and all that. So that's how I started the Sports Massage Association. But what I found was a struggle to get people to come in. What I found was a lot of students or new grads, particularly students, were very interested in joining. But I was told by students from other schools, like they were told not to join
Oh,
because it's a Sutherland Chan thing.
oh,
And I said, it's not a Sutherland Chan thing. It's a massage therapy thing. So I said, you know what? I stepped down. Let somebody else do it, that it doesn't have the image of a Sutherland Chan thing, and let it go that way. So I learned the same with the alliance as well. Like I've put it together, you guys run with it, because I don't want it to be looked at as being a Sutherland Chan thing. I often said that, massage is my calling. Sutherland Chan is just a vehicle. I was able to express what I wanted to do for the profession, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely kind of worked as a platform, I would think. After you founded the Canadian Massage Therapy Alliance, it's really not too long after you served as AMTA's Canadian rep, that they ask you to kind of head and get the ball rolling with the foundation, the Massage Therapy Research Foundation. That's 1991, right?
yeah.
That's really getting off of the ground and starting to cook. In our conversation with George Kuselius, he tells this very funny story about he had promised his wife he wasn't going to work on any more boards, committees, and then he goes to the next conference and you single him out and tell him that you want him to be working with you on the foundation. Share just a little bit about that. Why George? And how did you find that working relationship with George Kuselius to be?
Well, I like his energy. I like, like a lot of people in the group that was like that anyways. But I think he was with Nick Batimber already started at that time, I think. And I just see the work he was doing. I just kind of really work well with him. And we, like at AMTA conference, a group of us would go out for dinner at, part of it. So that's why I become really friendly with different people. But like Sally's really got a very important role. Not that George isn't, but I thought it'd be great because of the education aspects and the with the Nick Timber that his skills is really beneficial for us. And I enjoy being with George as well. We always have laughed and all that with him. So I just approached him and he agreed. Somehow I think that once I was in a position, I was really surprised the support that I have.
Hmm.
It's like when I ask people and they say yes. When I ask for money, they give it to me. When I like somehow I don't know what it is. It's just that maybe it was something that people wanted to do. Something people feel that the organization needed. So there's a lot of support for that. So I can't thank George enough for being a part of it.
Very wonderful. Can you share some insights, maybe some struggles or particular triumphs that happened as from 91 to 95 as you're helping get the foundation up and running, Grace? Anything that really sticks out to you from that time?
I can just kind of remember how amazing that it took to get off the ground. It's almost like I got the support from the board in terms of, what I have designed and so on and so forth, and get the money from the membership. And the AMT assigned somebody to me that worked really well with me. Jane, I think Jane was her name. That was in the beginning was really good. But after a while, I think the support kind of raising fund was a little bit of the challenge. And that's a part I don't quite know how to formalize. And I think it's time for somebody else who come in to be able to do that part of it. And then because it really grew. There's a lot of people interested in getting grants. So it really needs a next level of organization and work. So they actually hired somebody specifically to look after that at that point. And then because I was getting osteopathy, was a little bit too much for me to work. And it was time for me to step down to do it. But I enjoy the challenges, and it's such a supportive community in AMTA. I said I couldn't think of an idea for the next conference of how we're going to fundraise. And lo and behold, somebody will come and say, why don't you do this, and this? So we always have some event to be able to raise funds. Finding people to be on jury for the research, there's a lot of support. So yes, definitely challenges, but I don't feel that there's like heavy duty challenges because of the supports I got from the organization.
Do you still follow, like, keep a pulse on what's happening with the foundation at all, Grace, or have you kind of really taken a step back from it?
I have stepped back from it quite a while now. Maybe even a step down in 1994 or 5. I followed it until about 2005 or so. And then I just kind of really stepped back and hadn't been that involved with it anymore.
Correct me if I'm wrong, just because you mentioned 2005, was that their first IMTRAC, their first International Massage Therapy Research Conference?
I don't remember. Let me think. Because I went to a couple of those conferences.
Yeah.
And it probably started just before that. I think of the people who was quite involved with that as well, but didn't come up here. If I think of any, I'll let you know. It was probably just around that time.
Did you also come back for the Foundation's Advisory Council in the mid 2010s?
No, I went to a couple of conferences. I met with some of like once in a while, when I have the time, I would go in to do the conference and just kind of, have a, kind of see what's going on and stuff like that. But, I look at it, all the presidents now and all the people working are so capable. They're all kind of researchers themselves. They're PhD in this and that I just have full trust that they're doing a much, much better job than when we kind of in the beginning trying to put this together. So I have full trust they're doing well. I do read, they do still keep me posted in terms of, from emails and notice and stuff like that. So I keep up that way. And I think I have developed, particularly during the pandemic, because I was just slowing down a bit and then pandemic happens and I've got my plate so full. My plate is still so full trying to turn things around because of the pandemic. And as you can see, and I just started, osteopathic training program. So I have this school in Toronto a couple of years ago, now Vancouver. So my plate is, I'm hoping by next year, things slow down a bit. I can go back and take a look at, and see what else I can help with. But I fully know that because I met with a couple of presidents. They're just so capable and what they think of what they're doing. It's just so amazing, So I'm very happy with that.
They couldn't be as capable if they didn't have that foundation that you were a part of helping to make happen in the first place, Grace.
It's a trust from Elliot, and also my thing, kind of my personality. I love doing things I've never done before. So
Well, wonderful. And thank goodness, I would say massage therapy is a lot better off. Let's shift gears just a little bit if you can, Grace. I want to ask you, are there any major trends, movements, or changes in massage therapy that you've witnessed over the decades? Is there anything that felt like a real turning point for massage therapy?
I think, particularly in the States, they do such a good job. We're just talking about the other day in terms of hospital massage. They really have a place. When they go to hospital work, post-surgical work in the hospitals and all that. That is truly amazing because that is when you get a trust medical profession, you come a long way. So that is I'm really applauding in terms of what massage therapists are doing in the States. And also that speaks a whole lot because you're in the whole medical realm now. And you're not just having practice at your home or in the clinic anymore. So that is a huge turning point for me. What I like to see is a bit of a separation because there is the whole medical aspects of it, and there's the relaxation aspect, which has a lot of merit for it as well. But what I like to see is that, and some people are taking advantage of that because I'm still hearing people in that realm, relaxation, practicing, sexual harassments and all that. In that, I'd like to see if there's anything we can somehow, it's hard to say, you don't train those people because you don't know. You don't know what they're going to be like, right? But I like to find a way that's separate enough so that that reputation stops, and so that people have more trust in terms of going for massage therapy. We have it here as well. I know we have in the States, we have it in Canada as well. I remember this is not now, this is some years ago, because one of the people who worked at the college, because we have a college now in Ontario. So I remember calling her up and she goes, yeah. And I go like, you okay? She said, oh, sorry, Grace. I didn't know it was you. She thought it was another complaint. She said she's just inundated with complaints about, all these aspects of things that she said, Grace, you have no idea. And I then go like, why is that? Why is this training still produce people who, and I talked to one of the board members at the college, and they go, because they show up as just another person. You cannot through tests, whatever it is, you cannot see this other side of the person and until they've been practiced. So I like to see in something we can kind of work that so that there's more respect and trust, in our professions. I like to see more research done. And so that's what I like to see. I often said I like to see it to be a degree program, but I'm still kind of sitting there at this point. I'm not too sure what I like to see in that aspect.
Okay. What is your view? How have you seen the public's perception of massage therapy change during your time in your career?
Well, definitely change a whole lot from people asking if we do a topless and all that. Definitely moved way beyond that. I don't think anybody now calls. Once in a while, we still do. Once in a while, because we have online booking, and then I would have somebody say, can you believe it? Somebody just said, I want blonde hair, blue eyes, blah, 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 right? So there's still some there, but I would say like 99% less than what we had before. Professionalism has changed a whole lot in terms of, there's certain guidelines of practice. There's more books out, more articles out in terms of, of that. Really brings out that part in like Ben Benjamin and Nancy Dale, all these people brought, their articles, their writings, their books really help shape, people in terms of thinking what massage is and their practice as well. How people think, what it is that's in the American side But same here, because of easier for us because we have a college. You have to do the college exam and all that. So the public actually is educated enough know that we're RMTs, and also some of them would actually even go to the college site to check on the therapist before they make an appointment, because they make sure that they're not being suspended or whatever it is, right? So I think that aspect is really good, that not just us doing a good job, that the public is making sure they're going to somebody who is good practitioners, honest and so on. And also saw, like from the beginning, a lot of clients would come and say, I would only see a female therapist. We have much less of that now. Client would come and see either gender. I was just discussing too, some years ago, there was some clients come in and look at somebody and say, I do not want to get a massage from this person who's gay or something like that, right? That has also changed now, which is good. The next step right now we're facing is transgender group. We have people booked and they come in and say, I don't want to have that. So, we'll do our best to see how we can make people comfortable, of having that happen. So I see that, the different waves coming through. And if we have able to convince people to go get a massage from a male therapist, we can, convince people that having people from different sexual preference and all that, I'm sure we can come, with this hope, this next aspect. The only thing is probably religion, the religious aspects of it. That's what I see that's changed as well. Just like, any profession, our knowledge realm, it grows and increase, and I think our therapists grow with that as well, thanks to the teachers who are dedicated to it, from very basic orthopedic assessment to like really good, they're competent and confident in that aspect in treatments. So I saw that, for the last almost 50 years in practice, which is nice to see, which is really nice, yeah. And I think it's a group of people that all have that vision of moving towards it. I kind of see that, with Trish Dryden, Pam Fritsch, all those same vision to move towards having the college and so on and so forth. And same with in AMTA, like with the likes of Ben and Nancy and Ruth and same vision to really move this profession forward. So it's kind of nice. Yeah.
When you look back on these incredible 50 years, Grace, what about how have you seen an evolution of how practitioners view themselves and the work that we do as massage therapists?
It kind of falls into that whole realm that, the first, they're afraid to tell people we're massage therapists because they get mistaken as being massage parlors and body workers and all that, myself included, when I graduated, starting working, practicing, and with my university friends, they go say, okay, so Grace, what are you up to these days? I'm doing massage. They say, oh, massage parlor, eh? And I go like, no. This is, we don't have to explain that anymore. So that gives the students the confidence, the practitioner confidence, like they don't have to deal with have this image. Much less, I would say. Still, sometimes there is, but much less. And I think the training gives them the confidence to be that. As I said, I used to worry about my graduate looking for work. Now it's the opposite. I couldn't graduate enough students, because I remember this is like 6-7 years ago, graduation. I was talking to one grad, and I said, "So, are you looking for work?" And she goes, "No, I haven't yet. I already got 5 job offers." So it's totally opposite. I'm very happy that this has happened. But yeah, it's totally changed in terms of the public viewpoint of what massage is and the necessity of what is. I remember I got an interview way back when, and they said, "What would you like to see of massages?" I said, "I'd like to see massages." Compared because in Toronto we have subway station, right? I said, I'd like to see a massage clinic at every massage subway station, so that people, when they go home, they would stop by for a massage where to go, right? But right now, we have probably 5 massage clinics around the subway station. So, and they are busy, and that's what is so great about it,
Awesome. Let's talk a little bit about preservation of the past. I'm going to start out. Do you collect or preserve massage history in any way yourself? Books, stories, equipment, photographs, things like that?
I don't, but Christine does. She has, she's a photographer. She would nonstop taking photos when we were in school, so she would have a lot of that. Deborah Curtis also put together the massage history book. Oh, I think Don got a copy. Do you have a copy?
I do. I love it.
Okay. So Pat Benjamin, would have probably a lot of those. For me, it's more the school photos. You wanted some of them or?
Well, we're always open to receiving anything that anybody is ready to part with or make copies of,
Yeah.
give to the society. But well, yeah, sure. We're just interested in hearing if anybody has collections of their own out there because we never know who is out there doing some of this archival work that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, I'm not very good with that. I'm usually kind of keep moving forward. I can check with Christine to see if she has anything, and she's very good. She's very good with that kind of work. Anybody else in the we used to have a painting, a student draw this huge canvas of the history of massage, of history of touch, and this whole painting there. And we had it put, big one in the hallway. I don't know where it is right now after we moved from that building. I can check and see we have it. And you're welcome to have that. If you don't mind, I'm going to put it so I remember to ask for it.
That sounds incredible, Grace. Could you say, I'm particularly interested in like an artistic interpretation of the history of touch or massage. Can you speak just a little bit more about that painting, how it came into being, who the student artist is?
I think the student artist was Michael Lott. I think it was just through, when a student is something to stimulate them to do either one thing or the other. And the talk of it, he just kind of decided to do it. And one day it just showed up as with this painting in terms of like even from touch, the sort of touch and the therapy. And then it was just kind of went through the history of how it developed and in terms of to be a therapy, in terms of all that. So it's quite a piece of work. I thought the whole class did it together, but it was like a couple of years ago. I was talking to Michael, and he goes, "No, I did that." I go like, "Wow, that's amazing!" And it's been, as I said, in the hallway with us for like 20 years. But since the move, I have to track it down to see where it is now. We don't have a wall like that anymore to place it. It was in the whole hallway, so it's got to be somewhere. That if I can find it, I'll bring it. I'll take a. I don't make a. Well, it's hard to make a copy because it's huge. I'll see. If he didn't mind, we'll send it to you or something.
Sure. Whatever. We are always, our hands are open. Send us whatever you want to.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I appreciate your work. In terms of archiving this. It's so important for people to look back and say, okay, this is what happened. How. So you're doing it at something that is so valuable. Thank you.
Thank you, Grace. That kind of leads into a follow-up question for me. What do you see as the value or perhaps the challenge of trying to keep this history of massage therapy alive?
I mean, what you do is really incredible. And I think getting more people to be interested in it, maybe working with, you must know Amanda and Rick. I think they have the one concept conference, massage conference in Toronto. They have in contact with a lot of students, alumni, grads, and practitioners that maybe you can have be part of the their work so that you can tell them what this is about, and then they can send you or connect with you what they have in their journey through massage therapy. They may have something like that for you as well. Unfortunately, I'm not very good at it because as I said, I just keep trotting forward. But the history is so important, because I'm just realizing that I'm doing something like that for my family, archiving and stories and all that, because if you don't have that, then the next generation will not remember, grandfather did and so on and so forth, right? So now being with you, I'll be more mindful in terms of all that. If I come across anything, I will set it your way.
Well, give yourself a break. You're not alone in just keep moving forward. That's not we hear that quite a bit there, but if just a little bit more intentionality and yeah, like you said, being more mindful of what we're doing with our history. I would consider that a success of what we're doing here at Soma. Is there anything you can think of in how an understanding of history could impact a practitioner's work, their advocacy in massage therapy, or even their identity as a massage therapist?
There'll be a lot more respect, of their work. Not that they don't have any. It's just that one more ingredient to keep them honest and true in terms of what they do, in terms of how long, what it comes through. Because I always go in to talk to the class that comes in the first day. I would go in and talk a bit about history, how it comes along, and they all go like, and hopefully that kind of motivate them in terms of more what a struggle we came through to be here. I would say da 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 da. That was before you were born, da 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 da, da, right? And they all go. I think that would be really helpful for them to just have that this one more ingredients to keep them proud of what they're getting into. But I'm hoping, but I don't know if it's true. Some of these would help to deter some of those people who are trying to do whatever they're trying to do, for them to think more before they will get into the trouble they get themselves into. Yeah, but I can see it. I can see like the students that the first day they're all keen and everything, and also they hear, wow, I mean they never understand what massage parlor is about because now you don't see them very much. They're all kind of in Toronto anyways in some areas. They didn't even know in terms of, how we were doing kind of the people had difficulty differentiating between us and then the struggle and all the work that went through, in Ontario, it's like what Pam Fitch and Trish Dryden and all the people went through to get us to college. And that's a big, big step for us to put us on the map, right? So yeah, that history, because to them it's like, oh, there's always a college. No, it was not always a college. We're considered masseuses before, and now we are RMT and all that thing. And that is so, so important, I think.
Excellent. I want to talk about legacy and ask you to reflect. When you look back on the last 50 years of your career, what are you most proud of in that time?
I think seeing massage grow from, as I said before, from being the masseuse kind of status to RMT status to we a massage therapist hiding in their home or whatever to do it to be come out and say, hey, I'm a massage therapist and work in this clinic, and to be side by side working with physiotherapists and doctors and all that. I think that's major, and it's just the work of all those people together, and to make this happen. I don't think this is what I planned, but the group dynamic seems to just kind of push this into where we are today, like your work, Ben's work, Sally's work, everybody's work, George's work, all contributed to be where we are today. So it's a whole of all the people together. But I always appreciate, I always kind of go like, my God, all these people together, all these amazing people who are doing amazing things at that point, and when it's needed, they show up to do it, and
I wonder, is there anything in particular that you really had a hand in that you are like, I don't know how you would pick just one thing, Grace, but the work with the foundation or establishing the Sutherland Chan School or even, establishing the sports association. Is there anything that just really, you're really glad that you had a participating in?
I think the school is really key. That's really key. And also the AMTA Foundation. Those are the two things that I find that kind of help the profession to move forward. The research and the outreach and all those grants is so important. I was because with osteopathy, we have a research program in the osteopathy training program. So we hired somebody for the research, and she's the coordinator for research. And she said for any profession to be kind of really recognized, research is really key because other professions will look at it in terms of what you've done and so on and so forth. So I think AMTA was really forward thinking to be able to have that back in the 90s to have that. And then the school, for me to be able to educate and keep improving in terms of what we do. So those are the two things I feel really good about. So it's always, when we often say, with the school, so much happens all the time. But it's challenging, but it's also satisfying, as well. Once in a while, I remember in the initial days that Christine and I would sit and say, why did we ever get into this? And the next second we were like, yeah, we're glad we did because we're doing this and this and this. So yeah, I'm really glad. And I think with all the teachers and all that administrators, all the people to contribute into it that make this a very good school. So yeah, that's one thing I'm really happy that I did.
I think the world is a better place with the work that you've done with the Sutherland Chan School and the Research Foundation. Let me ask you, if you could record one historical figure's account of massage therapy, someone who is now deceased, who would you choose and why?
Okay.
Good choice.
Yeah, most of the people in Toronto that they're still alive. So they're in Canada. So I was thinking of Trish Dryden. That's amazing work she did and stuff like that. But in the U.S., Bucking and Elliot, he's still alive. But like Elliot's brilliant in terms of what they think. Bucking kind of moved this forward to the next level. Elliot is really brilliant in terms of things that what he wants for the association and all that. So those two people are high in my mind in terms of for the profession. And then I said, people I mentioned a lot, on the side, a lot of people who build schools, but Ben Benjamin keeps, getting his education out. Sally was education director at that time, really make sure the education was good. George, and his work, and Nancy though keeps going, and still just keeps going. It's incredible because we're all kind of not quite in there anymore, and Nancy's still going. I'm going to the next conference next week. I'm doing this. I'm going to see Ray Moriyasu. I'm going to see blah blah blah. It's like she's still connecting with everybody. It's incredible, this group of people.
All right. You've kind of already given us quite a few names, but let me ask you specifically, who would you like to see on this podcast next? Is there anyone you'd love to see interviewed or thinks has a really important story to tell here at the Hands of History with Soma?
So have you talked to Trish already? Trish Dryden?
Not yet gotten Trish on here yet, but her name has come up a couple of times for us.
Yeah, because she really was moved the profession into getting regulated. Major force in that. You talked to Pam already, right? I heard.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful conversation with Pam.
Yeah. Christine Sutherland. Interesting. It'll be really interesting. It's be a very lively interview. She does a whole lot, even, like building the school together and stuff like that. But she works a lot, like because of pandemic. She educates in the sense that not in terms of education in the school and all that, but she kind of is the precursor of people going to school. Like she's living where she lives right now has got 5 tribes of indigenous people there. So she's talking with them, and she'll email and say, Grace, you got to do something about this. Maybe you can have them come train. Maybe you can set a school only for indigenous people. Right? So she has that, and she also into palliative care. And she, in pandemic, she spread the basic level of massage, like to the Philippines, because it's virtually. So she spread massage in that, I said, pre-education level in terms of getting people know what touch is, what educated touch is, and so on. She's the one that kind of said, our very first outreach was, she got a skeleton on one of the strollers, and off she went to a nursery, not nursery school, like pre-kindergarten, junior kindergarten or something like that, and just kind of show them the skeleton and show them about healthy touch and show them, and all that. Like she's very creative in terms of doing some of those things. She writes books, she does a lot of videos and so on. So very creative. Somebody to talk to. Very interesting person.
All right. Those are some awesome names. Love to see them join us here. All right. Just 2 more questions, Grace. Final notes. Before we get out of here, what are you up to these days? Is there any way listeners could learn more about your work, connect with you, or support what you're currently doing?
So right now, I'm kind of, how should I say, redesigning the curriculum a little bit. So I'm still formulating it. So I don't have to formulate anything concrete to tell you. So yes, we learn anatomy, physiology, pathology, and all that, but it's in a very undergrad university way. It's not an integrated way. So you learn anatomy, physiology, and then you learn about the muscles. Then you learn about treatment of something. So and the students have to integrate together. What I like to see is our education in terms of how I integrated everything to teach, so that they don't have to integrate, so that they just we integrate with them, they learn it, and when they graduate, they have this full sense of the system. So, anyways, as I said, I know kind of what I want to do, but I don't have it totally written down what it is yet. What I'm doing also is with the osteopathic schools. So again, I'm trying to coordinate the education, because there's a WHO standard, and the school before they don't have that much clinical practice. So I want to add the clinical practice to the curriculum right now. They want 1,000 hours of clinical practice while in school. So I'm pushing that out. So already put in the curriculum, just kind of make sure that, because of part-time school, it's a little more difficult to have that happen. But I kind of following the massage model a little bit, so that, and then we have students from all over the province. So some have to drive 5 hours to here. So have them to go to school, and then they go home for the next 3 weeks and come back again. So to have clinics happen all the time doesn't quite work. So I'm trying to fit in 1,000 hours within the time frame they're in the city. So that's what I'm working on.
Sounds daunting.
Something like that.
Is there anything we didn't cover in the last 2 hours that you would like to add now? Consider the mic all yours.
I think you've covered everything. You covered everything. I think the only thing is maybe my volunteer work with the hospitals and all that. And that was mainly, I'm involved with a lot with the senior long-term care home. And so I just really have this part for two spectrum of the population. The young, because they don't quite know how to express the pain or whatever it is. So if we can do as much for them as possible, that'll be good. And also the old. I think there's ageism going on. I think there's a lot of I've a couple of patients. I have relatives who were, just because they're that age, they have a back pain, and the doctor say, "Oh, this is a back pain. Here's a painkiller. Go take it." 6 months later, they have the pain. Okay, stronger painkiller, without really going into. And then before 2 years later, they really got into trouble that there's nothing anybody can do anymore. So I like to somehow do something for the seniors in my volunteer work, and it was because of the volunteer with the long-term care home that leads me to involvement with the different hospitals, and that was really really interesting as well. But my main thing for everybody is education. It's like, take as many courses as you can, really learn, learn as much as you can. That it can just enhance your treatment, working with your patients, right? So, and also I learned from this interview is that really, appreciate what the elders has done, like, it's not just a past, it happened and everything. They've done a lot of work, to bring to what massage is today. So if you have any question, talk to Kirby, because she has a lot of those information.
Oh gosh,
it's true. And I never give that much thought to it until we talked today. So thank you so much for opening my eyes into this area.
Well, of course. Well, hey, and thank you for being open to, just receiving that. And well, that's all we want to accomplish here at the Society of Massage Archives. So I'm glad that landed. All right, Grace, I want to thank you for your time and participating here at the Hands of History podcast with us. I've had a delightful time. I'm so glad that we made this happen today.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for waiting for so long. It was one thing after the other,
You're also a very busy person, so I completely understand and can sympathize with that.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please consider donating to the Society of Massage Archives, so we can continue to bring you this episode and other resources to fulfill our mission of preserving and integrating the historical knowledge of massage therapy's professional advocacy and traditional techniques to guide and enrich our contemporary practices. Thank you. You are listening to the Hands of History podcast, production of the Society of Massage Archives. You can learn more about the society at societyofmassagearchives.org. We also on Facebook and Instagram. Do you know someone whose hands that help shape the practice of massage? If you or someone you know would make a great guest for future episodes of the podcast, please email the society at societyofmassagearchives@gmail.com. Society of Massage Archives, all one word, @gmail.com.